Alright. I can get everyone's attention back up here. We're going to start. Watch, the giver said. Top of page 149. Now he cleans him up and makes him comfy, Jonas told him. He told me. Be quiet, Jonas, the giver commanded in a strange voice. Watch. Obediently, Jonas concentrated on the screen, waiting for what would happen next. He was especially curious about the ceremony part. His father turned and opened the cupboard. He took out a syringe and a small bottle. Very carefully, he inserted the needle into the bottle and began to fill the syringe with a clear liquid. Jonas winced sympathetically. He had forgotten that new children had to get shots. He hated shots himself, though he knew that they were necessary. Yes, Blair?
Is he about to kill his baby?
We're going to see. He says he's going to give him shots.
Yeah.
To his surprise, his father began very carefully to direct the needle into the top of the new child's forehead, puncturing the place where the fragile skin pulsed. The newborn squirmed and wailed faintly. Why is he... Shh, the giver said sharply. His father was talking, and Jonas realized that he was hearing the answer to the question he had started to ask. Still in the special voice, his father was saying, I know. It hurts, little guy, but I have to use a vein, and the veins in your arm are still too teeny weeny. He pushed the plunger very slowly, injecting the liquid into the scalp vein until the syringe was empty. All done? That wasn't so bad, was it? Jonas heard his father say cheerfully. He turned aside and dropped the syringe into a waste receptacle. Now, he cleans him up and makes him comfy, Jonas said to himself, aware that the giver didn't want to talk during the ceremony. As he continued to watch, the new child, no longer crying, moved his arms and legs in a jerky motion. Then he went limp. His head fell to the side, his eyes half open. And then, he was still. With an odd, shocked feeling, Jonas recognized the gestures and posture and expression. They were familiar. He had seen them before, but he couldn't remember where. Jonas stared at the screen, waiting for something to happen, but nothing did. The little twin lay motionless. His father was putting things away, folding the blanket, closing the cupboard. Once again, as he had on the playing field, he felt the choking sensation. Once again, he saw the face of the light-haired, bloodied soldier as life left his eyes. The memory came back. He killed it. My father killed it, Jonas said to himself, stunned at what he was realizing. He continued to stare at the screen numbly. His father tidied the room, then picked up a small carton that lay waiting on the floor, set it on the bed, and lifted the limp body into it. He placed the lid on tightly. He picked up the carton and carried it to the other side of the room. He opened a small door in the wall. Jonas could see darkness behind the door. It seemed to be the same sort of chute into which trash was deposited at school. His father loaded the carton containing the body into the chute and gave it a shove. Bye-bye, little guy, Jonas heard his father say before he left the room. Then the screen went blank. The giver turned to him. Quite calmly, he related, when the speaker notified me that Rosemary had applied for release, they turned on the tape to show me the process. Rosemary, remember, last proceeding. There she was, my last glimpse of that beautiful child, waiting. They brought in the syringe and asked her to roll up her sleeve. You suggested, Jonas, that perhaps she wasn't brave enough. I don't know about bravery, what it is, what it means. I do know that I sat here numb with horror, wretched with helplessness, and I listened as Rosemary told him that she would prefer to inject herself. Then she did so. I didn't watch. I looked away. The giver turned to him. Well, there you are, Jonas. You were wondering about release, he said in a bitter voice. Jonas felt a ripping sensation inside him, the feeling of terrible pain clawing its way forward to emerge in a cry. So, in this section of the novel, Jonas finally discovers the true nature of release. What is release?
Death.
Death. What specifically?
What you do for people in the death row?
Take a needle.
Like when dogs are in pain, you need to put them down.
It's also called euthanasia. Brandon, you know what euthanasia is? So euthanasia.
Like with a dog, right?
Huh?
Like with a dog. It needs to be
It is like that. Euthanasia. It's death by lethal injection. It's actually one problem that's debated in culture today, whether or not doctors should have the ability to euthanize patients in a lot of pain. What did Rosemary, the last receiver, do?
She injected herself.
She injected herself.
Basically, she killed herself.
Suicide.
So that's what happened. So with the children, they put it, you know that babies when they're born, they have a soft spot where the skull isn't fully done. So they put the syringe there.
It's fucked up.
I would at least wait in a couple months.
Why?
That's why they work them. You don't even wait. The right side.
Now think about this. What happens to little Gabriel if he can't grow big enough?
But that's not gonna happen.
You want that?
They would put a syringe in him, even though he's 1 year old.
We don't know.
How do you think this is going to affect Jonas?
Well,
It's
gonna
gonna
hurt
hurt.
first part, and he said I want to go home.
Do you think he'll be able? Do you think he'll be
He
able
gonna
to
find
live
a
in a
way.
society where this is what happens?
He probably gonna kill his father.
That's not gonna happen.
You think he might go crazy in the community?
He runs
Michael, what do
away.
you think?
He is, but yeah, he probably will.
Michael, what do you think?
I'll send this back and forth.
Hold up a second. I'm trying to hear. Nothing?
Man, he gonna kill his father.
What about this? What did Jonas's father say about release?
It was a good thing. Why did you do that?
Brandon, what about you? Oh, you might have missed this part because you haven't been here.
I think I missed it too.
Someone, what did Jonas's father say about release? How does he talk about release?
Like it
You
was
said
half
it
to
was
go
a good or a
like.
bad
He
thing.
talks about a happy thing. Was he lying?
Yes.
Yeah. No, he don't
But
know
from
that.
his point of view, he was sounding like he was cool.
Shay, why do you think that his father might not be lying?
Cause he doesn't know that.
Know what?
Know that this is what happens when people get released. He don't know that he
Jonas's
killing them.
father?
He probably think they just sneak.
So you're thinking that maybe he's so brainwashed he thinks that.
Yes, I can't tell the story because it's gonna make. I can't tell it, but
Or what was one of the rules that Jonas was allowed to do? That was a secret rule for the game.
Ass.
it's a lie.
To lie. What was one of the things he was wondering when he found
He
out?
thought everybody lied.
So could his father have a secret rule that says he can lie about what he does?
No,
Wow.
You don't think so?
no.
Yeah.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
Do we know?
No.
Wow.
So there's two things, right? He might just not know what's happening. He might believe it, or he could be lying. The three types of release that we're talking about is assisted suicide, where so when she dies, it's assisted suicide. You give someone the means. Infanticide. What do you think infanticide means?
But somebody doing his work.
Infanticide. I think that means younger.
Death by a child.
Not by a child, the death of a child, an infant. And then euthanasia. Euthanasia is when it's assisted suicide of old people.
Death, motherfucker. Death. Nigga, death.
Just be careful with the language. One thing, it says the release of an infant is to choose society's rules of simplicity over human life itself.
But
So one more time. Why are they releasing the child? What was wrong with the child?
you can't have kids in the community.
Death to you, bitch. Death to death.
What would happen if there were two of the people? What would it do to the community sense of, what would it do?
Turn out of whack when somebody tries to find someone else but ends up talking to
It
them.
causes confusion.
So it causes confusion and messes up all the rules, how simple and easy everything
Get
is.
like the twins we see in school.
What's more important? Think about this. What's more important? The group?
Don't go to that door.
No. What's more important? The group or individuals?
Individual.
That's your stupid ass.
Not the door.
That's it, girl.
Leg.
What's more important, the group or being an individual? So you'd rather be an individual. We learned about what thing yesterday? What did Jonas not know anything about? Love, and love comes from a what? Two?
Family first.
Family. He learned about family. You don't have that individual sense. You have just the community. So it's better to kill a child than it is to disrupt the community. Because individuals don't matter. You as a person don't matter.
You pointing at the wrong person.
You as a person don't matter. What's more important is that everyone as a whole is safe. Even if that means you as an individual dies. We're going to answer some questions. How do you feel about that? Do you agree with that? Do you think that individuals matter?
Yes.
Do you matter?
Yeah,
Should I care about each of you individually, or should I just care about the whole class?
You need to care about the whole class, but there should be a bond you should have with every single child.
Oh, I do. I like what Shay said. Care about you all as a group, and then also care about you as individuals. So here we go. Last 4 questions, and then we're going to write our summaries. Number 6. Blair, read it out. Question 6.
6.
Bad. Gonna be bad.
The giver does not think that Jonas should watch the morning release of the twins because he thinks he might not be able to have it.
Okay, so number 6. Does the giver think that
false.
Jonas? False. Why is it false, DeAndre?
Because he turns.
Oh, no, your name's not DeAndre.
Me, bro.
Why did the giver want him to watch it? You want to ask someone else to help out?
Me,
I help out.
No,
Shay,
you don't want
you
your
weren't
help.
chosen.
Because he already seen the memory and he already know what it feel like to have death because
So
he
he
got
wants
shot.
him to understand that. So why DeAndre?
He out.
And he wants him to understand.
Yeah.
Wants him to
Death
see.
upon
So we're going to say false for number 6. Stefan, will you read question 7 for us, please?
The giver asks who see the tape of the twin release. The
Attendant.
hesitates because it's such an annual request.
Did the attendant hesitate when he asked to see the tape?
No.
No. Right, Brandon.
He said one more.
It's
It
true.
was like, no, did not hesitate. The person's like,
Oh.
yes, giver.
Hesitate.
Yes, giver. Yes, giver.
Can
Go ahead. Shay, question 8.
I
Question 8 is not true or false.
Right there.
Excuse me, Shay asked Randy. Shay, go ahead, out loud so everyone can hear you.
Why does the giver? Oh shit! Why does the giver keep telling Jonas to be quiet? A.
It's me.
Motherfucker.
Let's keep the
Language, man.
Let her read it, Blair.
Keep
your dick out. Shh. Go ahead.
A. He is annoying.
Annoyed.
He is annoyed by Jonas' character. Chatter. He wants Jonas to pay attention and watch the screen. C. He is afraid that someone is listening to their conversation. D. He has a headache. E. None of the above.
Which of them?
B.
B. I mean, he might have a headache and he might be annoyed because Jonas keeps talking, but we're going to go with B. He wants Jonas to pay attention.
Let's go find the whole situation messed up, though.
I'm gonna read it out.
I'm agreeing with you. Why do you think it's messed up?
Child.
Huh?
I don't think I can do
Well,
it.
yeah,
I had to make sure.
I don't
I had a
think
hard
I can
time just watching somebody learn.
I'm a dickhead.
do. Michael, read the last question, please. Number 9. When Jonas.
When Jonas started to realize what's going on, he had to give it to stop too.
False.
False.
True.
He doesn't ask him to stop. Tape.
True.
He just went on.
Alright. The last thing we're going to do today.
The T.
Right, 5 to 7 sentences summarizing what happens in chapter 18 and 19. Things. 18 is this one. What was question 8?
It was 8, right?
B.
Why was it B?
Because he kept telling him to shush, just watch.
So he just wanted to watch.
Oh, look. I wrote my.
Oh, you did? Let me come over and check it once I get out of this. So again, I got your directions on here. In 5 to 7 sentences, summarize what happens in chapter 18. And I have it written down next to it. These 3 questions. Big things is what type of critical thinking? What sort of examples? Look at your page. I said that identifying the main thing that happens is what type of thinking? Remembering, so we're finding facts. Number 2, which characters were involved? What type of thinking are we looking at? It's on the paper.
This paper.
Remembering
and analyzing.
Remembering and analyzing.
Grading and applying.
You're taking